Hi out there, it's me, Eloise, and it has been a while. The last time I talked to you was in my office, and as you can see, we've got a bit of a location change because since my last video, my office has turned into a Minecraft-themed playroom, and my desk is downstairs. There's been a lot going on. I'm sitting down with you today to give you a bit of an update since it's already somehow the end of Q1 of 2025, and also a little vlog of my trip to the 2025 Tucson Book Festival, which was super cool. You've waited long enough, let's just jump in. The last video I made, I recall saying that instead of having a mantra for 2025, I wasn't really going to set any goals or have a word of the year or anything like that, and just kind of let the year come and see what the year would do. Kind of backfired, honestly, thinking that the universe was just going to put up with that. I had said that I was going to greet the new year like a friend, where I'm sitting on my couch and I say, the door's open, except for this friend, the 2025, kicked my door in and said, let's go, we've got self-discovery and transformation to do, like you've got work to do, get off your ass, let's go. It was a rough start to 2025, and I'm not even talking about all of the political nonsense. It could have been worse. I'm going to go with a butterfly kind of metaphor for the year so far because it's really been a transformative metamorphic year for me already, and it's only 3 months in. So January was very much the caterpillar turning into goo inside the chrysalis month for me. It was painful, it was scary, it didn't feel good. I felt like I was being torn apart sometimes. It just wasn't a good time. February, the worst of it had already happened. I was reshaping myself, reshaping my views and feelings about myself and others, and forming into what is now emerging in March of kind of my new self, my more confident self, my more spiritually connected self. I know I don't look different. The transformation is very much internal, but I have transformed so much, and I will continue to work on that transformation. And I know that's all very vague. Anyway, part of that transformation was also rekindling my love for writing. I did that by pivoting a little bit to a work in progress that I have kind of been keeping under wraps. I've shared with my newsletter subscribers. I will continue to share news about my projects with my newsletter subscribers first. So if you want to be on top of the information about these projects and all that stuff, link is down below. I'll announce that project and provide further information about that project in a future video, but for now, that's going to be kept under wraps. I will tell you that I am 20% through the first draft of that manuscript, and I'm sitting at about 50% of the way through the manuscript of book 2 of Legend of the Amazons. I haven't touched Legend of the Amazons for a while just because I was having a lot of anxiety and stress related to writing a second book is stressful. So that's where I've been, that's what I've been up to. Let's get into my trip to Tucson for the 2025 Tucson Festival of Books. I applied to be an indie author at the Tucson Festival of Books in September of last year, paid $45, thought it was a waste of money, thought I wasn't going to get picked because I'm just a little indie author and I have one book, and you know, there's so many other bigger indie authors out there that I was sure were going to get picked. But I was pleasantly surprised that I got selected and offered a 3-hour time slot on Sunday, March 16th in Tucson at the book festival. So I spoke to my family and I said, I want to do this. And they said, yeah, we want you to do this. We decided to make it a family trip. Once travel arrangements were made, the next thing I had to do was figure out how I was going to get my books and my table decor down to Tucson. I ordered 80 books off of Amazon, and I think I'm just very spoiled with where I live because the print on demand arrived within a week and all of the quality of the prints were great. The color was kind of different than the first run of author copies that I had. I decided to take only those author copies with me. I needed to make sure that the books weren't going to get damaged during that 3-hour flight from Seattle to Tucson. I did my best to keep as many of the books in the original packaging as I could. However, in order for me to bring my little temple display that I built, I needed to unbox one of the boxes of books and arrange the books around the temple. I was worried that the temple was going to break, which it ended up breaking, but that wasn't a huge deal. I was able to fix it once I was in Tucson. I saran wrapped the books in order to keep them as pristine as possible, despite being outside of the case and being in and amongst some other loose items like clothes. Once I wrapped the books in saran and got the temple secure, I used plastic bags and my son's clothes to kind of cushion everything. Then I included my box of other smaller table decor such as book stands, bookmarks, stickers, everything like that, along with my table covering in that suitcase. And the other 2 suitcases that had books just were stuffed with clothes and other travel necessities. Friday morning we woke up early and my mom drove us to the airport. Thanks, Mom. After checking our bags, we made our way down to the gate, and I took the time before our flight boarded to write March's newsletter. On the flight itself, I worked on my secret work in progress and got a whole chapter done. Once we landed in Tucson, we got our rental car and up with some family at the Reed Park Zoo, which was so much fun. Since it wasn't too hot, a lot of the animals were out and active. I think other than the festival and spending time with my family, that was my favorite thing we did during the weekend. We started off Saturday morning getting breakfast at a place called First Watch, and I had this French toast that was sublime. It was so good. It was like a lemon ricotta raspberry custard French toast. Highly recommend checking out that restaurant if you're ever in Tucson. My son is currently obsessed with Minecraft, as many little boys are, and we decided after breakfast that we were going to go to Colossal Cave to get a tour of that beautiful cave. It was amazing. He was a little nervous at first because he'd never been in an actual cave before, but he asked so many questions and was so engaged. It was a great time. Once we were done with lunch, we headed over to the Air Museum to check out all of the cool airplanes. The rain from earlier that day had finally subsided and the sun came out, and it was a lovely time walking around looking at airplanes. My partner and son had such a great time, and they both saw their favorite airplanes, and I saw some really dumb looking airplanes, which were hilarious. After the Air Museum, we went to an ice cream place that had sweet cream honeycomb ice cream that my partner was wild about, and he convinced them to let him take a picture of the ingredients list and is going to hound me to try to recreate this ice cream, and I don't know how I'm going to do that without disappointing him. After ice cream, we drove up to the top of Mount Lemmon to enjoy the beautiful scenery of the desert and look at all the saguaro cactuses and see what was on the other side of Mount Lemmon, which was more desert. We found some snow though, and it was a beautiful drive, and I very much enjoyed it. Sunday after breakfast, we drove out to the Saguaro National Park. It was more beautiful scenery of the Arizona desert. I loved seeing all the different types of cactuses and just enjoying the warm weather sunshine break from the rain of the Pacific Northwest. On Friday night, I reconfigured the suitcases, so I had a whole suitcase of books and a collapsible crate for my stand and decorations and some more books. So we loaded all of that into the car Sunday morning before we left for the national park. So then when we were done, we could head straight to the university, so we didn't have to feel rushed going back to the hotel or anything like that. Once we got to the indie author parking lot, I changed into my outfit, got all of the stuff out of the car, and we headed into the festival. The one thing that I wish I had done a bit differently was to have spent more time at the festival itself. I was so focused on making the weekend a family trip that I didn't really take time to prioritize going around the festival as a attendant to see all of the different vendors and meet all of the different authors that were there. I did notice that Ellie Hazelwood was at a signing event, and the line was so long. It made me feel great for her to see the amount of fans that were there lining up down the freaking campus to get their books signed. My window for attending the festival as an indie author was from 1:30 to 4:30. I got myself set up on a corner. Unfortunately, it's kind of a first come, first served basis for the tent, so since I didn't arrive until probably noon, there were a number of places that were already taken that were in kind of more prime spots. So I was facing away from one of the main walkways that had a lot of foot traffic. I think if I had been on the other side of the tent facing that walkway, I probably would have sold even more books than I did. I'm very pleased with the amount of books that I sold, and I have no regrets for how my experience at the festival went. All of the indie authors in the tent were very friendly and supportive. I didn't have as much time as I would have liked to get to know them and really network. Instead, I honestly spent most of my time at the festival selling my books, which isn't the worst thing. The volunteers at the book festival were so helpful. By the time I was told I needed to pack up my things because the festival was almost over, I had sold 22 signed paperbacks of Maiden of Artemis along with 6 ebooks. There are a couple of mistakes that I made on my end, such as not being as prepared as I should have been to take cash payments, as well as misplacing my little square scanner for the cards. Most of the people paid by card, by tapping my phone with the app, but there were a couple of people whose cards, for whatever reason, couldn't do that, and so they asked if I had a scanner, and I said no, not realizing that it was in the bottom of my gosh darn collapsible crate, and not realizing that I could have just manually entered their credit card information. So frustrating. I missed out on a couple of sales because of that. I was selling my books for $15 for a signed copy plus a sticker, which those stickers, if you want to try and convince someone to buy your paperback instead of just walking away, you dangle a sticker in front of them and tell them that that's the only way that they can get a sticker, and they will buy a paperback. The amount of readers that were on the fence and then decided to buy my book because of the sticker. I highly recommend investing in stickers to give away. The first person who asked if they could pay for my book in cash, I said that I didn't have any change. Thankfully, they had 3.5, so the next person that asked me if they could pay in cash, I did have change, but that only worked for the next 3 books, and then I ran out of 5s. To deal with that little slip up on my end, when people asked me how much my books were, I said, well, that depends on whether you're paying cash or card, because card is 15 and cash is 20 because I can't make change. Thankfully, nobody got upset with me for that. During the festival, my partner took our son to the miniature train museum that's only open on Sundays in Tucson, and I can't say that I was sad about missing that. Once the festival was done, I packed up, I had a beer to celebrate, and then had to pack up, and we flew home the next day, and I wrote more words on my project. That's how the Tucson Book Festival went. Am I going to apply for next year? Maybe. Am I going to apply for local events? Definitely. Much like my job as an accountant, I think I'm a bit of an odd man out when it comes to being an author, where I am not an introvert. I enjoy interacting with others, meeting new people, talking about my book, selling my things. I'm not afraid to engage with potential readers, so I think I thrive in author event environments more than maybe a shy person who isn't comfortable with putting themselves out there. So I'm definitely going to be researching local events, reaching out to local bookstores to see if they want to stock my book, and most importantly, continue working on my works in progress, because the only way that I'm going to sell more books is to write more books. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and let me know in the comments down below what your favorite part of the vlog was. I'm playing with the idea of doing more vlogs, but honestly, other than trips like that, my life is very boring. I'm not a young, hip, cute author who has fun things to say. I just sit and write and do accounting and parent. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. You're one of my favorite people. Until next time, take care. Bye.
Do you like writing?
Yes, I like writing.
Do you like mythology?
Yes, I like mythology.
Do you like my videos?
Yes, I like your videos.
Then what are you waiting for? Subscribe.